And then I started to see, okay, life's getting a little bit easier. Even knowing that I still carried that debt, but knowing that I was tackling it, felt like things were lifting off my shoulder. I felt lighter on my toes. I was like, okay, this feels good. Now, how do I make it even better? And from there, I just started to work on my credit. And now today, I hit the 800s, which is incredible. I'm like really proud of myself for doing that.
Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting show of the About That Water podcast, where we help the sandwich generation build strong financial habits so that they can talk about money, spend money, and enjoy their money with confidence. And one of the things that I'm having for this particular episode is talking about how to overcome your budgeting woes, build up your credit, and even talk about some of those money mistakes that you've been dealing with and how to overcome those. And one of the best people to actually have to talk about this is Christina Roman. How are you doing today, Christina?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, to share knowledge, and to talk about financial mistakes. That's one of the things I really love to talk about because I have made my fair share, I will say that.
Haven't we all?
Right.
And you're coming from you're currently working at one of the top three biggest home known companies, which is Experian. What is the experience like being there?
Being at Experian has been incredible. It's an incredible company to work at. It's a company that's changed my life for the better. When I first started working here in 2015, I was on a credit rebuilding journey. I started as a social media specialist for them. And I remember when I was in the hiring process. So how it worked is one of my friends at the company that I was previously working at ended up going and working in IT at Experian. And so every once in a while, she would send jobs over our way. And she said, hey, Christine, I think this would be a great fit for you because I was doing social media at the company that we worked at before. And I went through the process, and my boss at the time, Mike Delgado, or the one that I interviewed with, it was incredible. Just coming into this big corporation, first of all, you turn into Experian. It's 3 huge buildings. And I came from very small businesses previously. So it was like we were working in a warehouse, we were working in a back office somewhere. And then for this experience, I pulled into this huge campus with 3 buildings, and it was intimidating. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of a job, for corporate culture. I don't know what that's like. But Mike Delgado, the first question he asked me was, where are you from? And I said, oh, I'm from Long Beach, California. And he's like, oh, they have a great food scene. And then we just started talking about lobster rolls. We started talking about our favorite restaurants. And that put me so at ease for the job interview. And that kind of was the telltale sign to how the company is in general. It's such, I don't know, the industry itself is an intense industry, right? The credit industry, data. But the business itself, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like just you're with your family. I don't know if that sounds cliche to say, but it was just so easygoing. Everybody that I interviewed with was very down to earth. We clicked really quickly, and I just felt like this is a place that I want to be. This is where I'm meant to be. And so when I was going through the interview process, I really wanted the job. I had interviewed with everybody I really enjoyed interviewing with, and I really wanted that job. I prayed for that job. And when I was talking to the HR person in the final step, I said, look, I know you're a credit bureau. My history with credit is not that great, and I hope it's not going to impact me. I've been on a rebuilding journey. I promise, like, I'm getting myself together. And she was like, it's fine, relax, you're going to be okay. And so I was just hoping that was not going to impact me. But once I came here, and I know this is a long-winded story and I apologize,
No, it's
but
okay.
I'm so passionate about this company that I work for because Mike Delgado, when I started working for him, he said, okay, Christina, our goal is to do credit education on social media. And I said, well, I love social media. Let me tell you what I don't know a lot about, and that's credit. And so I was very honest. I said, look, I made every mistake with credit. I ruined my credit in my 20s. I've been rebuilding, but it's kind of, I've been piecing things together from different things that I've read online. And he's like, that's totally fine. I'm going to give you all the resources we have. He sent me article after article after article. He connected me to the team that I'm currently on now, where I attended a training session with them. I read over every article that they put together. I worked with them on campaigns, and then I started to learn so much about credit that it started to improve my financial life. That's why I said Experian been has been the best place that I've worked at, and it's honestly changed my life for the better in so many ways, not just from the benefits that they offer. The corporate culture is incredible, but also the tools that they offer, the credit monitoring, the tools that they've made available to help consumers to boost their credit. It's all innovated over the past, let's see, what is this, almost 10 years. The company has grown in strides in the steps that they've taken to help consumers, and they've helped me. And I, in turn, get to turn around and join these amazing podcasts to help other people.
And because you say you talked about credit was bad. Like, how bad was it?
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. It was so when I was in college, I made the mistake of opening a credit card and not really understanding how credit worked. So I didn't know what an interest rate was. I didn't know I didn't know that missing a payment was going to impact me for 7 years. I thought, oh, you miss a payment, you catch up. Not a big deal, But so what happened is I opened a credit card and they said you have a 0% interest for 12 months. Me not knowing how interest rates worked at the time, I thought that meant I didn't have to pay for 12 months. So then I started getting bills and I was like, why am I getting a bill? I don't even owe for 12 months, but okay, here's a track of everything that I owe. And then I'll be honest with you, sometimes I didn't even look at the bill. I was like, oh, they're sending me another one of those bills. Like, I don't know them though. And then it got bad. I started getting collection calls. One of the women was through my bank on campus, and I remember her by name. Her name was Simone, and she was a big impact in my life. She's the one that talked to me like a parent almost and said, okay, Christina, you clearly don't understand how credit works, because she would tell me, hey, you need to pay. And I'd say, I don't have the money to pay. And she said, well, we're going to report you to the bureaus. And I said, well, I don't know what that even means. What do you mean you're going to report me to the bureaus? And she's like, okay, you really don't understand how this works, right? And I said, no. So she actually would take the time to talk to me. And then she would call me again when I missed payments, and she'd be like, Christina, Simone again. Let's talk. What are we going to do? How are we going to get you caught up? And so she was the one that really made me curious about, okay, how is this really impacting me? So I ruined my credit. I would say, I think I was in the 400s at one point.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was, and if you're not familiar with the credit range goes from 300 to 850. 850 being the highest, 850 being, your goal, or, upper 700s to 800s is your goal, right? I had a car that was constantly breaking down. And so this car was eating through all my money. And I decided I needed to go and get a new car. Again, being completely naive to how credit worked, I went to the lot and I found this car that I liked. It was affordable. It wasn't anything fancy. It was like the cheapest version that I could find, low mileage, whatever. And they ran my credit, and my mom was with me, and she had always told me, don't get a credit card. Credit cards are bad. She didn't know my financial situation. And the person was like, ooh, okay. So we run your credit and you're going to need a cosigner. And I was like, okay. He said, you're going to need a cosigner, or you're going to need to try to accept a loan at a 19% interest rate.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh, I don't even know what that means, but okay, a 19%. And my mom's jaw was on the floor. She was just like, she's like, we're going to walk away right now and we're going to figure this out. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, I didn't understand still at the time how high that truly was for a car. So she was really mad at it. She didn't talk to me the whole way home. And I was just like, what happened? I don't understand this. Well, a few days later, I went to my parents' house just to pop in to visit. And the minute I walked in the door, my dad just started screaming at me about like, what are you doing with your life? How could you be so financially irresponsible? And I got completely attacked from my parents about what I had done. It was a tough situation to be in. It was a very eye-opening situation to be in. They really explained. No, I don't even say that. They didn't explain anything to me. They just yelled at me. And then I went home and I started to say, okay, clearly I've done something wrong and I need to figure out how to get out of this. So at the time I was dating my now husband, and he's very financially responsible. And we talked about everything that I was going through, and he kind of knew, but I didn't really want to tell him too much. But once this happened, I kind of laid it all out, and he's like, okay, I'm going to co-sign a car for you. And I was just like, what? And he said, he told me, I see a future with you. I'm going to co-sign on a car for you. But you need to know that if you do not make your payments, it's going to impact my credit. He's like, you've already ruined your credit. I need to help you rebuild. So if you miss a payment, you're going to impact me negatively. And that put a lot of pressure on me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my bills in order. I'm going to learn how to manage my budget properly. So that way I make sure that I make those payments. And I did. I did not miss a single payment on that car loan. And that kind of started that snowball effect of, okay, I'm doing this right. Now let me bring my credit down. And so I started my credit debt down. So I started to look up ways to reduce credit debt. And so I did, the calculators, interest rate calculators, how much can I realistically afford to pay? And we just started doing that. And I just started chipping away at my debt. And then I started to see, okay, life's getting a little bit easier. Even knowing that I still carried that debt, but knowing that I was tackling it felt like things were lifting off my shoulder. I felt lighter on my toes. I was like, okay, this feels good. Now, how do I make it even better? And from there, I just started to work on my credit. And now today, I hit the 800s, which is incredible. I'm like really proud of myself for doing that, from knowing that I got that low, but also knowing, okay, now I'm in the 800s. This is possible. And that's kind of what I try to share with consumers when we talk about credit. It doesn't matter where you are. You can take the steps to improve it. And it's important that you do that.
You hit the credit bureau. I got to ask these questions because everybody's going to have them. I think this is beyond you now, I guess, at this point. But obviously, what is the credit, like the breakdown of a credit score, if you don't mind going through that? And then what ways that you've seen has been the best for us, like a budgeting strategy has been good?
Okay. So credit scores. First of all, it's important to know that there are so many credit scores in motion. You have a lot of scoring models that are commonly known include FICO and Vantage Score, and they weigh information differently. They're the algorithms that calculate your credit scores. They are proprietary to them, so they're not the bureau's credit scores. And I think it's important to kind of separate credit scoring models from the credit bureaus. So the bureaus are responsible for managing and maintaining your credit report. So how the cycle works, you open up a line of credit, you make your payments, the lender updates their records, they report that information to the bureaus, who then store that information in your credit report or your credit history. Then when you go to open credit in the future, we share that information with the lender. Now the lender then may choose to run it through a credit scoring algorithm to help them quickly analyze your credit report. So what that does, that algorithm looks at your report and it assigns a 3-digit number, typically between 300 to 850. That's your credit score. And then from there, the lender will use that along with a variety of other factors, including your income, your stability, to determine if you qualify for that loan, right? So what are the factors that make up your credit score? Your payment history is the number one factor impacting your credit score. So it's imperative that you make your payments on time. I always tell people set up automatic payments if you can, or have that calendar in your phone that you plug everything in and then you make your payments on the day. I tend to like to be more involved in my finances. So I will go in and make that payment because I feel like that makes it click for me. I'm like, okay, great. I made that payment. We're good. Also, because sometimes you just want to make more, you want to pay more if you can. So that's another great way to, reduce how much you owe on a loan that much faster. If you can make extra payments, great. The second factor that impacts your credit, the second biggest factor impacting your credit is your credit utilization. So how much of your available credit are you using each month? Now, this is particular to your credit cards. So you have a set credit limit and you get to determine how much you're going to charge each month and how much you're going to pay off. Are you carrying debt month to month? That gets reported to the credit bureaus. How much of your available credit are you using? So if you're using more than 30% of your available credit, then you'll start to see a little bit of a hit to your credit score. A lot of people say 30% is that number that you should aim for. We tell people if you can pay it off, because you don't want to carry debt over because you're going to pay interest on those amounts that you're carrying over, right? So who wants to pay extra on money that they're carrying over? Additionally, if you can't pay it off in full, if you can keep that usage at 10% or lower, that would be even more beneficial to your credit score. So your payment history and your credit utilization, two biggest factors. Typically, that's about 65% of your credit score. Then you have your credit mix. So how many different types of accounts do you have? Do you have credit cards? Do you have loans? How are you managing both? So that gets factored in. Your age of your credit. So how long have you been using credit? That gets factored in. A lot of people, if they just get started using credit, they want to see that 800 credit score right away. Remember, your credit report is your history of your credit usage. So credit takes time to build. Give yourself that time. And then the last factor is new credit. So are you applying for new credit? Every time you apply for a form of credit, then that will create a hard inquiry in your credit report. So those get recorded in your credit report. And that just lets your lenders know or potential lenders know, like, hey, this person is actively seeking out credit right now. Is everything okay? Are they over leveraging themselves with credit? So it's a very minor impact on your credit report. It's the least impactful factor. It accounts for, I think, 10%. So those other factors you really want to pay attention to are your payment history and your credit utilization.
And it's awesome that you even found a job with such, while you're building your credit at one of the credit bureaus, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
But also, it's interesting that they complain to you. Well, they put their frustrations out there without saying, like, hey, maybe us as parents could have at least taken some time out to explain to you what is the deal with other finances or even credit in general. So do you have any kids now?
I do. I have one son. He's 5 years old.
Aww.
And yeah, these are things that we talk about with my son. I talk about budgeting. There's so many things in life, and this is why I think it's really common that, especially in minority cultures, we're told, get your education, get a good job.
Yep.
Then what? Okay, I have a good job. Now I have all this money. Okay, let me go shopping. Let me buy the latest car. You see this with a lot of people that end up having money really fast. Then they're like, oh, I have this money, I can spend it. They don't realize that they can invest in themselves. They don't realize that taking on too much debt over leverages themselves, And so having those table conversations are so important. Talking about money, talking about a budget. I talk to my son frequently about, like, hey, that's not in our budget right now. He always wants me to buy him a toy. Nope, that's not in our budget right now. And I set up a system for him to start to earn stars so that he can earn money. And that way, if he wants something, he can buy it. Now I'll take him to Target and I say, okay, you've got $10. You can buy a $10 item, or you could buy something cheaper and save a little bit for maybe your next trip. So the next time we come, you have a little bit more to spend, or you can just save it and spend it somewhere else, you know? So we do talk to him about that. But that is my goal, is to set him up so that he understands how credit works. And so I also have a brother who's 11 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So when he entered the age where he could start using credit, I talked to him about making sure that you don't over leverage yourself with credit, that you don't take on debt, that you pay it off. I talked to him about opening 401k, because this is all information that was not shared with me. It was like, oh yeah, you should do it, but why should I do it?
Right.
I didn't start to invest in my 401k until my 30s. I lost out on all those years where I could have been accumulating interest on a retirement account. So when my brother, who started working, his company offered him a 401k, I said, invest in your 401k now. Okay, I want you to be set up better than I was. So those are conversations that I have with my brother, with my cousins, with anybody that will listen, to hopefully get them set up for their financial future. This Christmas, I actually bought my cousin, who had been complaining that she didn't know how to manage money. I bought her financial books for Christmas. So that way, or financial literacy books for Christmas. So that awesome. Way, yeah, because I want my family, to rise, to make the right choices with their money.
And that's really good that they at least approached you. But I guess obviously you got the big brand behind you. It's like, obviously I know what I'm talking about here. But can you go back and talk about the star system a little bit? How does your child actually earn those stars?
Yeah, so so every day at school he earns colored dots. So green for he had good behavior, yellow for hey, we had to give him a few instructions. Red is like, whoa, he really was not listening, and so he earned a red star. For the green dots, he'll get a star. He has to earn stars for several things. He has to brush his teeth. He has to get himself dressed. He has to get the green dot. He's got to say his prayers at the end of the night. He has an option to do piano lessons. We bought a keyboard so that he could set up YouTube, and we do a piano lesson on YouTube, only 5 minutes. That's all I asked for, Okay. And then there's other extra things that he could do to earn stars. So we have a dog. If he feeds the dog without being asked, then he can earn a star. If I ask him to let Rami out to use a restroom and he lets him back in, he could earn a star that way. So there's different ways that he can earn stars. The one that we're having a little bit of a harder time with is cleaning the room.
Okay.
He hasn't quite earned that star yet.
So does each star count to like a dollar amount, or is it just kind of like?
So it varies, honestly. We'll give him a target. So the first time that he did it, we told him you could earn a $10 prize. And I said, you're not every week going to earn a $10 prize. I said, some days it'll just be a $5. But so it's not a set amount that we have, but I don't want to go over like $40. I think that's too much for a 5-year-old.
Okay. Well, I mean, you sound like he's making bank over there. So
yeah. And he does it. What was interesting to me is he's really incentivized by that. And he'll go to the refrigerator as soon as he feeds the dog. He'll go and he'll put his star. It's a magnetic star system. Nice. And he'll put a star next to the right one. And then if he sees, he didn't do his piano lessons at all this week. So he's got no stars there. But he has to complete it all for 5 days. So there's 6 categories that he has to complete. Otherwise, he doesn't earn it. He gets nothing.
Oh, he don't get not $1. So he can do everything right and not do his piano lessons all the way through. So he doesn't get not $1.
He won't get it. Nope.
Wow.
That's the rule. Okay. You have to complete the whole thing. But that's where the extra stars come in. Because say he didn't do his piano lesson, but he opted to feed the dog. Those can take the place of the piano lessons. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's where extra stars kind of come into play. If he doesn't do any of that, then no, he doesn't get anything.
That is smart. Well, I wanted to go back to that because for some people who are just have young children and just trying to figure out how to create a system for their child. And obviously everybody does it a little differently. I'm just curious on how you all do it with your family.
Yeah.
So now that you guys are doing well, everybody's at the 800 mark and all that fun stuff. Looking back, what is it? What is one of those habits that you feel as though that you can actually just say, you know what, this money habit should just go in the trash. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't need this in my life anymore.
The money habit that should go in the trash is impulse spending. Honestly, it's I noticed so that this is one of the things I did this year was I looked through my spending to see, okay, where is my money going? Because again, you always need to check your spending. You always need to kind of recalibrate, right? Sometimes you get comfortable. You're managing money fine. Your your credit's looking good, so you kind of just go through life. You're like, well, I'm paying my bills on time. I'm comfortable, but just taking that extra time to review your spending can actually really show you just where all of your money is going. And that was really eye-opening for me. That's something I did in January was I sat down and I looked at, okay, all of our money going? And I realized our money is going to eating out and our money is going to Amazon. Impulse spending. I have the app on my phone. I get the package the next day. So I'm like, oh, I didn't know I always needed this thing that I saw on social media. And so I see it on social media, I go on the app and I buy it. And then boom, it's at my house 8 hours later. It's at my house the very next day. And so I said, okay, well, we're going to stop that. And so I told my husband, we're making our meals at home. We're going to eat out once a week. And no more impulse spending. If I'm going to buy something on Amazon or on an app on my phone, it has a purpose behind it. There was a plan for it. There's a reason why I wanted it. But if I find myself looking at social media and saying, oh, that's a cool gadget, I need that. No, I don't make that purchase. I'm trying to be really intentional with my spending. And I feel like that's really actually saved us quite a bit of money, is bringing to mind to myself and to my husband, hey, we're spending a lot of money without really thinking about it. If we're a little bit more intentional with our money, we actually save more. And it's been really good. The last couple of months, we've seen a change in just how we're able to manage our finances.
That is amazing. To look at the impulse buying, but actually have it with a purpose now. So I take it you only order from Amazon once a month?
No, so like when I say with a purpose, so we're having tomorrow a Galentine's event, right? And so my mom said you're in charge of like some of the decor items. So I went and I specifically looked at, okay, what is a decor item that I'm going to bring? And I purchased just exactly what I wanted to bring, and then that's it. So like that's what I mean by being intentional. But I'm not just like looking online and saying like, oh, that's a cool gadget, I need that. Or, hey, I like that shirt, I want that. I don't need that right now. If it wasn't in my closet. And one of the things that I noticed, and my mom just did this today, I was talking on the phone to her. So my mom, for holidays or any events, she always bought us new clothing. We always had a new shirt to wear. I always had a new dress to wear, for every event that happened. And so we have a wedding shower coming up. And she said, oh, what are you going to get to wear? And I said, oh, no, Mom, I'm shopping my closet because I have dresses in my closet. But that is a habit that's been ingrained in me all my life. My mom just always, for every holiday, for every event, bought us new clothing. And so I'm saying, I've got clothing. I have dresses. I've bought them for every event leading up to this, So I can find something in my closet to wear.
That's interesting because one of the things, like my mom used to do the same thing when I was younger, but it was only because the other kids in the neighborhood were getting it. So it's almost like the environment was feeding that particular impulse buying and purchasing instead of just saying like, hey, nobody's going to see you or even notice that this is new or not. Just iron it, wash it, just use it.
Yeah.
So how important is the environment when it comes to understanding and staying to your budget to you?
The environment is everything, honestly. Within my household, we have built a system, right? But when you go externally, there's a lot of external pressures, especially when I'm from a Hispanic family that is pretty big. We get together all the time. And when we get together, it's a birthday, it's, an anniversary celebration, or if you're not buying a gift, you're bringing food, right? So you're buying stuff to make food for a lot of people. And so Josh and I talked about how we need to set boundaries also. I think there's a lot of expectation that you're always available, that you're always going to be able to participate in a ton of events, or, show up on a whim. You get invited to like Sunday dinner or whatever, but setting the expectation of like, yeah, we can be there, but we're not going to purchase anything, or we're not going to bring anything because it wasn't in the budget. If you want us to plan ahead for something, great. But we need to be intentional about communicating that, because that's also where I realized we can spend a lot of money on our family.
Yeah, and coming to back to the parent side of the house, you talked a little bit about how they impacted you early on. How is now in your position, or where you at now, impacting their lives?
I think we're a lot more open with talking about money. We actually have a lot more conversations about money. My brother, he's been really good about setting boundaries with them, with my parents, and letting even me know. He moved about 50 minutes away, and so I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and I said, "Hey, I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while." And he said, "Yeah, right now things are tight, and so I can't come down all the time. But, let's set a date so that we can get together." So these are conversations that are happening, and we understand that, okay, this is just where we are. We're all at different places in our life, but I'm happy that he's prioritizing his budget, and that he knows that he doesn't want to overextend himself. My dad also, it's interesting. My dad's been talking a lot more about investing, and, talking about the importance of investing. And so he doesn't invest a lot. He's always said, I want to figure out how to invest. And I want to figure out how to invest. I don't really know how to invest. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not investing much aside from my 401k. And maybe I think I own one like stock on Robinhood, so I want to really boost my investing knowledge this year. That's a goal that I've set for myself. So my dad, he said, "Hey, when you learn something, please share it with me, because I want to learn too. I want to invest too." So that's something that is new, and it's exciting, and I'm glad that we're having these conversations too.
That is really good. There's a book that I usually give or recommend, shall I say, to a lot of people who are just getting into investing. And the book is called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. And the reason why, because he wrote the book for his daughter who wouldn't listen to him when he was trying to tell her about investing. So he was like, well, here you go. Whenever you decide to read it, it's here for
Yeah.
you. But it's really simple. And I usually give that book away for gifts as well for like the holidays. So, if you guys on my live show, I do give away books around the holiday season. So make sure y'all sign up. But that's just one of the books. It's just a suggestion if you are
Yeah.
still
Thank
looking.
you.
Yeah. So we're going to go into the futures just a little bit here, which is talking about, what areas that you plan on focusing on for yourself, or even in your career.
Yeah. I think for myself, I mentioned investing. That's something that I really want to research more. That's a goal of mine. I just recently actually upped the amount that I'm putting into my 401k. And so that way I can really start to maximize it. But learning how to grow my money is where I'm at right now. And then also, looking into high yield savings accounts. I've known about these. I'm in this industry. I've known about these for so many years. But to be perfectly honest, I haven't taken the actions there to even just earn a little bit of money on, my savings. Why not? So that's something that I'm looking into. Um, what else am I looking into for my own future? Yeah, right now I think it's really investing and growing my wealth, and then also investing for my son. That's another thing that I contacted my my 401k company and I said, I want to open an account for my son because I really want to set him up for success. He has already a college savings plan. So we did that several years ago. So we put money into that account. And for Christmas, I have family members that put into that account, but I want to open up an investment account for him as well. So that way I can, have something for him when he gets ready to enter adulthood,
Yeah, that's really good. Especially starting them off young, things that you wish your parents would have done for you. It's good that you was like, you know what, I'm doing as soon as I get a social security number.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, when it comes to adding your child on as an authorized user, I know it changes from child to child, but is it a good thing to do that?
Yeah, it can be a good thing. And honestly, the good thing about having an authorized user or having your child as an authorized user is you get to determine if they're going to have access to a credit card to that account that you're going to be signing them as an authorized user for. You get to determine if they're going to even be able to use it. I know people that have added their children as authorized users, but they never get to touch a card. They just benefit from their credit history. Now, does that teach them how to use credit? Maybe a better option would be to give them the card and say, this is your limit. And this is what I expect you to pay back. You can only charge when you have the amount to pay back. But that has to be coordinated between the two of you because you are the parent is the one that's legally responsible for what's charged on their cards. So even if they call and say, well, my son charged $1,000, computer on my charge, that wasn't me. There's nothing that they can do. They're going to have to pay it back. So that's a contract that you need to develop with your child. That's a conversation you need to have with your child, but still you as the parent are responsible for what's owed on the account.
That makes sense.
And then one more thing there. You just want to make sure that when you add the child as an authorized user that they do report it to the credit bureau. So if you're asking your creditor, okay, if I add my child, is that going to be reported to the bureaus? And they say yes, then that's going to help them to build credit.
I didn't even know that they had that option to not send it over.
It depends on the lender, honestly.
Okay. And since you're just receiving the information, when it comes to a credit dispute, because this is the biggest thing, what is the best way to do it? Is it to go through the lender or talk to you guys directly?
If you're doing a credit dispute, you want to go to your credit report and you can contact the lender and say, hey, you made a mistake on my credit report, but I think it's more beneficial if you go through your credit report. On every credit report, there's dispute instructions. You follow those instructions. If you're doing it online, typically it's as easy as clicking the button next to the item that you want to dispute. You explain in detail why you feel as though what's been reported is incorrect. And then if you can upload any supporting documents that can help us when we're going to your lender on your behalf and saying, this consumer says that this information is incorrect. Here's the supporting documents. Please review this and let us know the results of your findings. They have 30 to 45 days to let us know. Often it happens even faster. We'll know within a couple of days the results of that dispute.
That's amazing. Is there any laws that we can kind of tag on to say like, hey, well, we didn't sign up for this particular thing. There was no signature with this new lender. So like if it's going through like collections for that point, is there something that we can go or look into?
If you didn't sign up for it, then that's likely fraud. So you want to go through the fraud process. So, contacting the lender, letting them know I was not the person that opened that account. That's not even my signature on it. And then you go through the process. You may have to file a police report, but all of that information backs up your claim that was not you. So you want to look into the steps for reporting fraud in that case.
Got it.
And if at the end of the dispute process, you determine, you know what, we did not come to an agreement here. I'm showing proof that I paid. They're saying that I didn't pay. You can put a statement of dispute that gets added to your credit report, letting you explain your situation. The only thing about a statement of dispute is that the information will fall off typically after 7 years. So if at that point, it's probably a good time to go on and remove that statement of dispute. Otherwise, it's going to stay there, and lenders are going to wonder, well, what is this even for?
That makes sense. All right. Now, this question came from the credit chat that I really wanted to ask you because I thought this was interesting, which is how can a credit history impact the ability to build wealth, and what steps that individuals can take to improve their financial standing?
Yeah. So sorry. So anytime we talk about credit, we always emphasize the fact that credit is a financial tool. And what your credit history does is your credit history, if managed well, when you go to apply for loans in the future, your credit history is what that lender is going to use to determine the interest rate that you're going to qualify for, right? It's not going to be the sole factor in determining if you get approved for a loan. A lot of times, again, they'll take into account your savings, your income, your job, how long you've been at your job, your stability, things like that. So those are things that they'll factor in. But your credit history specifically will impact the interest with which you'll qualify for a loan, right? The better your credit score, the lower the interest rate. The lower the interest rate, the more you're going to save over the life of your loan. So when you have a goal in mind, like purchasing a home, the better your credit history and your credit score, the better that interest rate is going to be. That's going to help you to qualify. That's going to help you to save money. It could that interest rate could be the difference of thousands to tens of thousands of dollars on a loan. Maybe even 100,000. But that's why we always say before you're going to make a major purchase, check your credit report 3 to 6 months in advance to determine if there's anything that you need to change. If there's something that looks off on your credit report, you have that time to bring your debt down. That's one of the quickest ways that you're going to impact your credit score. So, okay, I want to apply for a home. I need to reduce my debt. Let me, take the steps to do that. So that way you can qualify for the best possible interest rates. That's why we say it does matter when you're trying to build wealth. We know that homeownership is one of the best ways to build wealth in the United States. You have that home, you have that equity. So the better you manage your credit, then the better you're going to be able to get that process rolling.
Thank you so much for that info. Is there anything that you want to leave the person that's listening to this right now before we dive into the final 4 questions?
Yeah, I just want you to be curious about your credit. Check your credit score. Check your credit report and your credit score. A lot of people think that checking their credit report is going to negatively impact their credit. That's not true. I was actually sitting with my husband while he was getting his haircut in a barber shop, and I remember hearing them have this conversation, say, don't check your credit report. You're gonna hurt your credit score. Only check it like when you absolutely have to. And I had to interject because no, that is not true. And I don't want that myth to continue. Check your credit report as often as you want. You can check your credit report weekly at annualcreditreport.com, annualcreditreport.com from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Those are the 3 major credit bureaus. So you can check it there for free weekly. You can get your FICO score and your Experian credit report from Experian.com. And remember, it's the information that's in your credit report that's informing your credit score. So you want to make sure that you know the information that's being reported about you to your lenders. So be curious with your credit.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So you ready for the final 4?
Yes.
All righty. Number 1, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means freedom to me. That it means having the freedom to live an authentic life, live life the way that I want to live it, be the person that I want to be. I often feel like when I'm most financially strapped, I'm stressed out, I'm unhappy. I tend to put the things that give me joy aside. And wealth to me means having the freedom to do all the things that I love, and joy. And yeah, that's what wealth means to me. Freedom.
Number 2. What was your worst money mistake?
My worst money mistake was opening a credit card without understanding how it worked. I highly encourage you, if you're going to use a financial tool, understand how it works, read the terms and conditions, and talk to your family members about these tools as well. Share the knowledge. That's so important.
Number 3, is there a book that inspired you, your journey, or changed your perspective?
It's not a financial book. I will say that. When I was just learning about money, I would say it was podcasts more than anything that helped me to kind of navigate. I remember I listened frequently to like Ramit Sethi. I listened to Stacking Benjamins. Aaron Lowry wrote a great book, Broke Millennial. Those were all great financial books. But a book that truly changed my life. God, can I say 2? I have 2 that are really
It's
great.
okay, you can say 2.
But okay, the books that changed my life for the better are the 4 Agreements.
Heard about that.
I love that book so much. It's just, that book is truly freeing about letting go of judgments. It's such a fantastic book. And the other book that I love that I still reference to this day, I read it, I think 2 years ago, Atomic Habits. That's a book that made me take action right away.
Yeah.
And it made it so simple. And it's the be just 1% better every day. That's something that I live by.
Love it. It's such a great book. Yeah, I vouch for that one too.
I still make my bed. I made my bed this morning,
Hey.
like, yeah, it's things that just little things that I live by.
Number 4, what is your favorite dish to make?
My favorite dish to make is, I love breakfast. Breakfast is my favorite item, or my favorite meal of the day. But my favorite dish is shakshuka. It's a tomato dish with eggs, and it's so savory and good. And I eat it with a piece of, I'll have either naan or I'll have it with sourdough bread. But it just has really nice spice flavors. It's a really robust flavor profile, and it's really good.
Sounds like a $40 dish to me.
No, it's actually not. It's actually not. It's made with tomatoes, onions, a ton of spices, and eggs. Like, you could just put 2 eggs in. You make a little pocket for them. Now, I guess the egg part is the $40, right? But yes. I cheat a little bit. I honestly use stewed tomatoes in my cabinet, but it's so good. The flavor profile is wonderful.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody. So. The last question of the show, which is, where could people find out more about you?
Yeah. First, well, I hope you go to Experian.com if you have credit questions, if you want to learn about credit. Check out our Ask Experian blog. And then you can find me on X every Wednesday at 3:00 Pacific. We host a credit chat. It's been going since 2012. Every week we touch on a different personal finance topic that matters to everyone. We touch on life, financial topics. We talk this. I think this next week we're going to talk about taxes. But yeah, so whatever topic is timely, we're usually talking about it on X. So you can find me there. I'm tweeting at, or I'm Xing at, what is it now? Tina_Leroux. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Christina Roman. Come in and message me, chat with me. I'm always happy to answer any questions, general questions you have about credit. I can't give specific advice, but I'm always happy to answer general questions about credit.
And they also have a podcast called Credit Chat. Check out, please.
Yes, and Anthony was just our guest on that wonderful podcast. I had so much fun talking to you on that episode, and I'm glad that because of that, I get to be here talking with you again.
I appreciate it. And we got to dive in a little bit more, which is great.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time. And for you who are listening right now, that you've made it this far, I just really want to let you know that you have what it takes to go to the next level. Just be sure to ask. You never know what somebody might know, and they might be able to guide you to that next level, that where you want to be with your credit. And I wish that you achieve the level that you need to in order to get that interest rate that you want, because you have a good credit, and by listening to this episode. So if anything, y'all be safe. We out. Peace.